Hi, welcome back to English 111 Online. This week we're going to explore cause and effect, and you're going to write a cause and effect essay on one of the global problems facing the world today. This week you will view my video, view the slideshow on cause and effect, read the document for Essay 3 very carefully, and I'm going to go over that with you. Do your research for Essay 3 because you'll need to do research for this. And later in the week, when Essay 2 has been graded, review feedback so that you can help revise this current essay that you're working on. In fact, use all of the information that you've learned so far in the course and that you've learned about your own writing to make this essay the best one yet. This essay will count 15% of your grade. So the graded assignment for this week then is Essay 3, and it needs to be submitted on the Turnitin link before midnight on June the 24th. The cause and effect slideshow just offers basic information about cause and effect, mode of development, and how it's basically organized. We know that nothing happens in a vacuum. It has causes, and it also has effects once it happens. And so you're going to be exploring either the causes of one of these world problems that you're going to get at this website, 80,000hours.org, or the effects of the problem, primarily one or the other. And then here's the document for this week's explanation of Essay 3. So I'm going to pull up the Essay 3 first, and let's take a look at that. Its cause and effect is the mode of development this week. Research requirements, you're going to need 3 resources for this paper. 80,000hours.org is going to be the first source that you're going to go to because that is the source from which you'll select your global problem that you're writing about. And then 2 other sources that add value to your essay, and I'm going to show you how to find those sources. The length of this paper should be 4+ pages in MLA 8th edition format. And I've also offered some help with how to do the works cited and in-text citation again in this document. And then the topic requirements, you must choose one of the global problems profiled at 80,000hours.org and write about the causes or effects of the problem. So here are the instructions. You know, last week we talked about these 2 stories, Miriam and Amina, and their drastic circumstances that happened that caused them to migrate from their original country, the original place that they lived. So this week we're going to look at some other significant global problems as researched and outlined by a website called 80,000hours.org. It's devoted to how to make the best choice for a career if you want to devote your self to helping others. So if you haven't decided on a career yet and you're interested in helping others, you may want to explore that site more carefully. But the part that I'm going to ask you to go to is the part that lists the problems that they consider the most pressing problems in the world today. So if these are live links, anytime you see the blue link in the document, you can click it and you'll see where you can go to the website. So let's take a look at the website and see what it is that you'll find there. On this particular page that I've put the link for, it's a list of all our profiles on global problems, and that's the website's what they consider to be the most pressing problems in the world. Um, and so they have biosecurity, climate change, or the extreme risks of climate change, factory farming, global priorities research, health in poor countries, improving institutional decision making, land use reform, nuclear security, positively shaping the development of artificial intelligence, promoting effective altruism, and smoking in the developing world. And of these 11 problems, you need to select one. Now, back to the document. Let me go back to the document. So select one of those, but I really suggest that you either that you select one of these 5, particularly because I think they're easier to understand. Um, some of the others are kind of esoteric and maybe a little bit um, harder to understand. I don't know. You're greatly intelligent people, and I'm sure um, that you can make sense of the other problems too. I'm not saying that you can't, but I just think these 5 might work the best. Smoking in the developing world for effects, factory farming for causes or effects, climate change, extreme risks for the effects, biosecurity for the effects, and health in poor countries for causes or effects. So once you check those problems out on the web page, then click Read the Problem Profile to go to the page that gives you the research-based information for that particular problem. And you may want to look at several of them before you make your decision. But once you choose one of the 5 that I suggested, then step 2 is to read the material provided for the global problem and then make notes about the causes of the problem and the effects of the problem. Find 2 other sources in addition to the 80,000hours.org that will add value to your essay, and make notes from those sources to complement the notes you made on the 80,000hours.org website. So in other words, start here at this, and maybe I'm going to zero in here on climate change extreme risks. Now, please note that I'm not asking you to look at the causes of climate change or the effects of climate change in general. I'm asking you to look at the extreme risks of climate change as described in this 80,000hours.org website article. And so, and while we've got the page up, let me show you. Whatever problem you click on, there's information that you'll need to use in your works cited page. So climate change extreme risks would be the title of this page. Roman Duda is the author of this page. So of course on your works cited page it would be Duda, comma Roman. And then here's the date of publication, 14 April 2016. And so this is the information that you will use. And of course, your website is 80,000hours.org. And you'll copy your, from the browser, pull this down a little bit so you can see that. You will copy, well, actually, I can't pull it down a little bit. I can pull this up. Look at this. So your browser information is up here to put in your works cited also. Okay, so how are you going to find your other sources? Well, what I suggest is scroll down on this article all the way down to the bottom, and they all have something like this. Learn more, explore more, read more, whatever it's listed as. and it gives you some other sources that you can go to. Here's one for this particular source that says climate shock, the economic consequences of a hotter planet, by the Environmental Defense Fund senior economist Gernot Wagner and Harvard economist Martin Weltzman. And then here you can find the summary of climate shock. Here's a podcast that you can also look at. And here is a chapter from that, chapter 13 on climate change, global catastrophic risks. So you could click on those and see where that leads you, see what you can find there. Also, another way to find sources is to look at the footnotes and references that are shown for the particular problem. Here, it's got the risk of extreme climate change in the next 100 years is blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all this, but it would reduce the future potential of humanity by 20% through a risk of extinction, worse values, international conflict, or social breakdown and a failure to recover. And so that you could even use some of that information in that footnote in your paper. Here's one, Global Landscape of Climate Finance, 2015. So you can, and then click Show All to see all the footnotes. See, this is very well researched and has a lot of information here. You can look at some of their sources in these footnotes, and so that might be somewhere else that you can look at to get sources for this paper. So start with the 80,000hours.org and then explore other sources that you can find from this very document, and that's what I suggest that you do. Once you've done your research and taken your notes, this is the foundation for you to develop the working thesis of this essay. It's going to include the major causes of the global problem or the major effects of the problem. And you will cover both the causes and effects, but you're going to put your emphasis on one or the other in the thesis statement and then in your essay. A cause and effect essay should be about 80% either cause or effect and 20% the other, whatever that is. So you're going to mention the effects of it, you're going to mention the causes of it, but just put your emphasis on one or the other. Here's a sample thesis statement that I've given you for Essay 3. Identify the global problem and list the major causes for this. So example, ineffective altruism is a global problem because many attempts to do good for people end up failing, and even with the successful approaches, there are large differences in their effectiveness. And so that is a thesis statement that you may pattern yours after, whatever you're looking at. If it's looking at the extreme risks of climate change, then you would list that problem, and from your research you would list what the causes are or what the effects are. But make sure you get your information from those approved sources for this paper. Okay, notice that in that thesis statement I did the in-text citations for the website because I had to look those up. I did not know about them until I read them, and so that's the basic rule for doing cause and effect, is that whenever you have to look something up, you need to cite it. Okay, so your body paragraphs. In this essay, it's not just to be a string of quoted or paraphrased information from your sources. A good portion of the essay is your analysis of the information you've read in your own words. So you're going to be using information that you've looked up, but you're going to be putting it in your own words, your analysis of the information. Remember to ice your details. You must give plenty of details in this essay. ICE means to introduce, cite, and explain. And at the end of this document, I've given you a template that you can use specifically to make this essay follow that icing principle there. So build an introduction and conclusion paragraph as usual, and if you're devoting most of your essay to causes, then also mention the effects of the problem if not solved in your conclusion paragraph, and vice versa. You might mention in your conclusion some of the causes that could be addressed, maybe to get rid of those causes so that the problem could be solved. Here's an example of an introduction where I started with a quotation as an attention getter, and then I narrowed it down to the thesis statement, and notice that I did use the in-text citations for both of those because I looked them up. So, how to avoid plagiarism? Use in-text citations and a works cited page. I looked them up. If you look it up, cite it. If you got it, if it's your own words, your own understanding, your own comments about something, your own analysis, then of course you don't cite it. But if you find evidence that backs up what you're saying, then you must cite it. I gave you a pattern of the works cited entries for the two sources that I used in my little introductory paragraph or sample paragraph. And so here's the thing. In text, you cite whatever sticks out here on the hanging indent on the works cited page. And so you've got helping others quotes. That is, I didn't have a title for that, even though Barack Obama said it. I just got it off that page, and so I didn't get it out of a document by Barack Obama. And then this one, Duda Roman is the author there, so I would just put Duda in the in-text citation. Sources for the essay. The main thing here, I've shown you already how to find other sources. The main thing here is do not use Wikipedia. That's never acceptable for an academic paper, and this is no exception. No, do not use Wikipedia. Here's that organizational template that I talked about, and so it gives you a place to take notes or to pattern your organization for the essay after there. So carefully read through this, follow the instructions, and I don't think you should have any problem with this essay. If you should have any questions, please contact me and I'll be glad to help you. And have a great week. Don't forget, submit this before midnight on Sunday night. Bye.